things have gone very, very dark very quickly in Naples. I think that a few weeks ago, certainly me and Gab, I think Mina was more sceptical sooner, but like we were sort of in the, it's nothing to worry about. It's a couple of games where results just haven't gone their way. They haven't managed to get the ball in the net. And we've gone from there to a situation where players are outright rejecting orders from ownership. This weekend, some players were booed. Quite a few players were booed during the game. We have some situations that are very, very questionable whether or not they're related, but nevertheless have sort of now come into this conversation where Alan's house got broken into while his wife and kids were in the house as well. Tensions in Naples are sky high at the moment.
And he's not there.
And Aurelio De Laurentiis. Where in the world, Gab, is Aurelio De Laurentiis?
He's in LA, hanging out with his buddies.
And maybe all the movie stars.
Maybe his buddy Ibrahimovic, right, who says he hangs out with when he's in LA. This is it's just so unnecessary, the whole thing. Now, it's natural, I think, to go back to the so-called mutiny when he ordered them into the stupid retiro. I know you guys covered this last week, and then the players just decide not to and whatever. But I think this goes further. I think this goes to the players' contractual situations. What he said about Callejon and Mertens.
Yes.
Where, they're negotiating a contract, which is fine. And you would think that, given that De Laurentiis is like, oh, look, I'm Mr. Shark businessman, like, I know all about contracts. They're not signing. And then he throws his toys out of the pram and he says, oh, they can go and, if they want to chase the money, they can go and, live a crappy life in China for the money, Yeah. Which, by the way, in one fell swoop, he also had to go at Marek Hamsik as well, right? Well, ended up doing that. So there's tension there in the background, but I don't think the fault is equal here. I think the fault lies primarily with De Laurentiis. I don't know if he hit his head or a screw came loose. I mean, he's getting a lot of abuse from the fans as well.
Yeah.
Not enough, to be honest, as much as I feel like
you're advocating even
I don't
more
want to do
abuse
that.
towards that nice Mr. De Laurentiis.
But I am very disappointed in their treatment of some of the players, considering how much they've given to this club.
You talking about the club or the fans?
The fans. I mean, there were 20,000 fans that came to the match against Genoa, of which most of the time they spent booing what are the players who did above and beyond getting them to where they are. And they're not on Higuain money. They're not on, ridiculous salaries. They are players who have stayed loyal to the cause, who go out every day and have to give 400,000 different selfies. It's a tough place to be. And De Laurentiis orders them into this punitive retiro that just doesn't happen anywhere else. And yes, they don't agree with it, and perhaps they, didn't toe the company line, but
they still go, by the way. They go for
they
4 days.
Precisely.
They go for the first part, yeah.
And they just they left after Salzburg.
Yeah.
But for you to turn against the players who, let's be honest, Mertens is still the guy that makes the difference, Isigne was still very good against Genoa, for you to turn against these guys, I find it really shocking and this is what I think. I think, De Laurentiis has caused a horrible atmosphere. And I think that he's put his ego first because I cannot believe they didn't listen to me when I ordered this from them. And so I'm going to just now torch everything because it's, we don't know now how long Carlo Ancelotti is going to last. And does he even want to last in this job anymore?
He's a contract through 2021.
I actually think we need to, my opinion is that this goes beyond sort of ego. I think De Laurentiis is, for all of his sort of jolly humour that he can sometimes give off, he is ruthless about the business side. And in fairness to him, if you want to compliment him on this, financially, Napoli have been one of the better run clubs in Serie A for a number of years. They have tended to stay in the black. They've tended not to make irresponsible decisions. They've sold their players at very high values when they've wanted to. But this feels like sort of pushing those contract negotiations that Gab already mentioned to absolute far end of it. It's him saying, you think you can get more money out of me, and if you think that's where it's going to go, I will push it so far that I will sooner chase you out of here and not pay you that money, and I'll give myself a pretext to do it. I'll make the fans no longer sure they want you here, rather than just...
But is this really a good long-term plan, considering what other big stars are going to say, I'm going to choose Napoli because I really love the way that the fans are dealing with this.
It's a great question. The counterpoint to it, if you would want one, would be, I guess, that Mertens is not that young, and does De Laurentiis think that he can, rather than sort of get tied down to big contracts for players who are older, refresh the squad and go over again? I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm saying that's what he's trying to do. I
don't think any of these guys are irreplaceable. In many cases, they've got replacements in-house for these guys.
I'm not saying I agree with it as a strategy. I'm just saying I think it is the strategy.
There's two other aspects. If you're Mr. Smart Wheeler Dealer businessman, you don't go and say, oh, this guy's a turd, please come and buy him for 50 million. Yeah. Right? Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
You're not. Secondly,
absolutely.
If he keeps this up and Napoli don't qualify for the Champions League next season, then that's 40 to 50 million at a minimum, could be a lot more, that you're not getting. So whatever savings you might make in not extending their contract, not to mention that if you don't extend their contract, you're going to, and they do go, you're going to let them go for less money. So he's playing a very dangerous game here.
I agree with that.
And it seems so unnecessary. He's also playing a stupid game too, with I think some of his criticism of Ancelotti, which was never direct, but look, we know how it works, right? Clubs put out certain things to certain people in the media, and this messaging, right? That Ancelotti's son, who's his assistant, he's useless. This idea that Ancelotti wants to get himself sacked. This idea that Ancelotti doesn't work as hard in training. It's the Ralph Honigstein idea that he doesn't work as hard in training as Sarri did. All this stuff is coming from somewhere. It's not just people who are making this up. Yeah. This is coming from somewhere. None of this helps the club, and none of this is ultimately going to help De Laurentiis, and not even with the bottom line.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPNFC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.